This video is brought to you by Sporlan. Quality, integrity, and tradition. Today's call is on a set of glycol units. They're saying one of them's not, well, maybe both of them. We're gonna have to test and see. This one's at 39, and that one's giving me an alarm and it's at 55 degrees. So we're gonna open these up and check them out. Supposedly they had the beer company out here and confirmed that all the pumps are working and everything's good with those. So it looks like it's a refrigeration problem. We're gonna start with the one flashing an error code, and it's that one. The unit has a clean condenser. I can see through it, but we are reading 53 degrees. There's quite a bit of heat blowing out of this, but that's to be expected. My liquid line, it's not too hot, but my suction line's not very cold at all. It's cool, but it's not very cold. So this is a critically charged system. It only holds 11 ounces of refrigerant, but we are gonna have to put service gauges on it. But we'll use the smart probes because we get the least amount of loss with those. So we'll put some gauges on here and see what the pressures look like. I'm really blown away that this unit doesn't have a receiver. We have all the room in the world to have a receiver, you know, but I'm surprised. Anyways, so we're gonna put some gauges on it. Something that I noticed since I got here, when I first got here, there was a bunch of boxes stacked right here, and there was a massive amount of heat. I mean, I felt a lot of heat being discharged. And once I removed those and opened up this panels, the temperature started dropping a little bit. I mean, you know, about 10 degrees so far. I went ahead and called tech support, and this unit has an automatic expansion valve, so it kind of acts like a capillary tube in a sense. The pressures don't change too much. They do a little bit, but so at 80 degree ambient, we should be about 12.5 psi over 160, and about 75 degree ambient, we should be about 11.5 over 130. Right now we're running just about 80 degrees, and we're about 13 over 140. I'm not worried with those pressures. Those pressures actually look good. So I have a feeling that this unit right here was just because they were blocking it. So we're gonna let this one run for a little while, because the unit next to us does have a problem, and I'll jump onto that one right now. All right, so this is our other unit, and this one is, we didn't even have to try. There was oil everywhere when we opened up. This one's literally sitting right next to that one. There was oil everywhere, so we cleaned up the oil, and that's interesting. Yeah, we cleaned up the oil, and you can actually see the leak right here. I didn't even have to put any soap bubbles on there or anything. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. There you go. Look at that. We didn't even have to put bubbles on it. It's showing itself already. So we're gonna have to change a service valve more than likely. I don't know if I can weld on that or not. We'll have to see. It's really not worth it. I probably have a service valve in my truck, so I'll go look and see. But yeah, we haven't even opened up the porch yet to put our gauges on here. So, but like I said, you could just see we dried it up, but there's just oil everywhere. When I pulled the insulation off, it was dripping the oil. So I have a feeling that the other unit was just blocked, and this is the one that was actually down. All right, so we didn't even bother putting service gauges on this unit because we saw the obvious leak. So we went ahead and recovered the charge. I happen to have a new rotor lock valve in the van, so I did have to run to the supply house to get a bushing. So we're just cutting out this old rotor lock valve. On silver solder, when it's that bad and it's kind of pitted and stuff, there's no point in trying to fix that. Just gotta replace the whole thing. So we've got our new valve right here. We're gonna kind of mock up what we need. I was missing a bushing. I'll have to sand that in a minute. And then I pre-bent some copper. So we're just gonna kind of mock this up, get an idea what we need, kind of get an idea where we want to cut it out. Some marker. When I'm going to cut copper, a lot of times I'll mark, but my cut mark is right below that mark, so that way I don't have to clean the marker off the copper. This oil is just everywhere in here. Everything is coated in it. So there's also, inside this rotor lock valve, there's a Teflon O-ring that's in there. And we do need to replace that, but I'm not gonna replace it until after we're done brazing. We'll end up putting some heat blocking compound on there, but we'll put the new O-ring in at the very last minute just so that there's no chance that we damage the new O-ring. right is actually dropping in temp pretty good. So we're just kind of watching it. Like I said, I have a feeling it was just high in temp because they had the condenser blocked off. Alright, so we're just kind of mocking things up. Hopefully I didn't mess this up. No, that's about right. And then I'll end up swaging this right here. So we'll just kind of get an idea where it needs to be. That's going about right there. We'll cut it here and then we'll swage it. Alright, so I sweat in the dryer real quick, no big deal. That's good. I wish I would have gotten that film because oil fire started. All the oil shot out and caught everything on fire, but luckily I had everything prepared. I had a wet towel, was able to, you know, instantly put it out, no big deal, but you always got to be prepared for that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Now, because we're doing two dissimilar metals, steel to copper, we need to use a silver bearing solder with a lot of content of silver in it. So I'm using 56% silver. I've got flex on there, silver stay sil paste flex. Okay, I prefer these versus the rods that already have the flex on them. I don't know why, I'm just old school. Also though, there's another braze joint right above here and right here. Since I'm going to be in there with the heat, I'm just going to silver solder it all real quick. There's no point in doing a bunch of different, especially on this one, because if I tried to do 15% there, it would end up sucking down. It would just be a mess. So we're going to try to get this brazed up real quick. All right, so heat rises. Got to watch out because I got a big fat SJ cord right here. I'm going to go ahead and heat this guy up. So we're going to start with the bottom, which happens to be the steel one anyways. Silver solder, the trick is to make sure it's super, super clean. Just put a dab on there. Once it flows, then you know you're good. It doesn't take much when you're working with silver solder. It flows really well once you get it clean enough. Should be good. We'll go ahead and hit the one little spot I don't like right here. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit the top now. Nothing in there to hurt you, it's fine. If it grabs your hand, just let it happen, okay? Just let it go. Don't fight it. Nah, you're fine. There's a problem there. That's not taking. It's almost like the flux isn't good or something. Up with the flux or something like that, because I was not grabbing like it should be. It might have overheated. Let's try again. Could have been oil or some kind of residual something on there from my hands. Should take no problem. That took. Okay, so now we're just going to clean everything up and inspect our welds with a mirror, make sure everything looks good. So this is the O-ring for this guy. Also too, when you're done brazing these, I like to take some sandpaper, sand out, make sure all the flux is off of there. Use a steel brush and then inspect your welds. Everything looks good to me now. So the valve isn't too hot, so we're good. But what I like to do is take this nylon O-ring, put some Nylog in the bag, mix it up, and then press it into there with Nylog on it. Okay, so I took a little bit of Nylog and I put it on the back side of this nut. It makes for kind of a messy situation, but it lubricates the nut so that way it spins freely and nothing binds up. Then I put a little bit of Nylog on the threads, and then we're just gonna kind of set it up there and twist it on. We've got the seal in there. And make sure that you get a nice, good thread on there. You don't want it to go on difficult at all. And I'm going to show you a trick for tightening these rotor lock valves on. What we do is you take your channel locks and you're going to torque it down to where it's snug, but before you do that, you're going to bend it the opposite way ever so slightly, because there's always going to be some twist that happens when you tighten these things on. So get it snug. Okay. And then when I go to do my final tighten, it's going to straighten the valve back out. About right there. Try one more time. There we go. Nice and good. So now we got a tight seal. Good Teflon O-ring in there. Everything's nice and clean. We'll put insulation on that. We're going to pull a vacuum on this guy now. So we're just doing a single hose setup for this little guy. That way I can get my micron gauge on the other end, and we're just pulling through the system. Everything's nice and tight. When I'm vacuuming down, I put on my service caps too, because the packings in them, they always leak. They're never leak free. So we're currently pulling through with the ballast open on the other side. We'll let it run for a minute till we hit some microns, then we'll drop it and close the ballast. All right, we're gonna go ahead and leak check my welds. False alarm. Doesn't look like we have any leaks, so we're good on that. These are almost spot on pressures. Mind you, we're under a heavy load. It's 50 degrees, but we're running now. We're just gonna watch the box or the glycol unit satisfy. So let's talk about this glycol unit. So we have a condensing unit here, and back here we have a vat of glycol. It's full of glycol to about this point right here, right to the bottom of this overflow tube. And there's a heat exchanger or an evaporator in there. And all it's doing is taking the heat out of the glycol basically. So what we do is, see those lines, they go up into the attic, all the way over to the beer walk-in, which is on the other side of that wall. They wrap around the beer lines and they go underground into the bar. And all that they're doing with these glycol units is they're chilling the beer lines. They're keeping them cold from the beer walk-in to the taps out in the bar. That's the whole purpose of having these glycol units. So this unit has a expansion valve, but it's an automatic expansion valve, so it acts just like a capillary tube. So your pressures really don't change very much. Your head pressure might change a little bit depending on ambient, but your suction pressure mainly is going to be around 12 or 13 psi, so probably 10 to 13 psi, and it's going to stay there. So it acts just like an R12 or R134A cap tube system. So we're going to go ahead and watch this guy. Now mind you, I did have to add a little bit of extra gas because I put a bigger liquid line dryer just to compensate a little bit. But yeah, everything else is looking good. Just monitoring everything. So you can't just weigh in the charge and walk away when you put a bigger dryer on there. You need to make sure everything looks good and it's operating like it should be. So we're just going to watch this thing come down. Alright, I did my best to clean up all the oil in here. Everything else is good. Put the caps back on, tightened up the packing on this before I put this cap on. Everything's good. Nice cold suction. It's at 40. It's set for 31, I think. It's going to take some time, but we've made some good progress. It's been about 10 minutes since I've turned it on, and we've dropped quite a bit in temp. So we're looking good. We're going to go ahead and start wrapping this guy up. All right. 39 degrees, got it all back together. We're gonna go ahead and get on out of here, tell them to keep an eye on it. So to recap, we had a service call that the beer was pouring too warm out of one side of their taps, okay? So this particular restaurant has taps on both sides of their bars, hence why they have 2 glycol units. So when I arrived, I found that both of the units were high in temp, but the right side unit, there was a box shoved in front of the condenser. So we removed that box and we started to see a noticeable temperature drop. I went ahead and put service gauges on that unit, noticed that the pressures were fine, so I let it be and jumped on the left unit, of which I found a refrigerant leak at. We didn't even have to put service gauges on the left unit. We could literally see the oil everywhere and we could see the bubbling of the oil. We didn't even have to put soap bubbles on there. It was immediately obvious. So we went ahead and recovered the charge, repaired the leak. What we did was we changed the suction side service valve. Okay, I happen to have one of those on my truck. It's a common failure part. So we went ahead and replaced that, got the unit operational, and watched it come down to temperature. This really was not a difficult one at all, just a little time consuming because we had to, go through all the proper refrigeration practices. But other than that, that was it, okay? I want to say thank you guys very much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it. Any questions, please either leave them down in the comments or send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. And I guess that's it. We will see you guys on the next one, okay?